שימו לבבכם על דרכיכם. שימו לבבכם על דרכיכם. שימו, 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 שימו לבבכם. שימו, שימו, שימו לבבכם על דרכיכם. This verse I found years ago from a little known book in the Torah called The Prophecy of Haggai. It repeats this phrase twice. Simu levavchem al dirachechem. Place your heart on your ways, which I think is both a beautiful encapsulation of our work in Elul, in preparing for the high holidays and seeing the truth of our lives. I think it's also a beautiful encapsulation of practice, what we do together as slowing down and placing our hearts, which simu levavchem, simu lev in Hebrew is also the way we just say pay attention. Pay attention to what's true. Pay attention to what's happening. Because these are the days of transformation. The Netivot Shalom, who I've been studying all year, teaches that the 40 days that start with the first day of Elul up until Yom Kippur are a time for transformation. And I'm going to suggest that the first step in any transformation is to see what's true and to know it. You don't have to like it, but just to see it. I like to quote James Baldwin, "Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced." And I want to just share with you that up till now, everything that I've said, I said apparently 2 years ago, exactly at this time on the IJS Daily Sit. I found out that I led Ki Tavo, our Parsha, and I just couldn't resist doing a little tshuva, a little return to what we had done before, because that's what we do. It doesn't all have to be new. It's actually just looking at what is, what's still there. I will say, though, that I wanted to share with you something that I have been thinking about just this week. So from here on out, it will be new material, new old material, as it were. But as we do Cheshbon HaNefesh, I wanted to share one more quote of a contemporary teacher who's just been a lot on my mind and heart. The late Dolly Parton, may her memory always be for a blessing. She gave us another way of thinking about Cheshbon HaNefesh, about the soul accounting we are doing and for what its purpose is. She said, find out who you are and do it on purpose, right? Not just our habitual lives living, but find out truly who we are and then live b'chavana, on purpose. I think this is the message of our Parsha this week. It begins with the amazing ceremony, the amazing ritual of Bikurim. And in Bikurim, and you'll see a verse from Deuteronomy 26, 2 verses actually, the very beginning, verses 1 and 2. When you enter the land that your God is giving you as a heritage, and you possess it and settle in it, you shall take some of every first fruit of the soil, which you harvest from the land that your God is giving you, put it in a basket, and go to the place where your God will choose to establish the divine name. And the word in Hebrew here is reshit kol pri, from what is often translated as first fruits. But reshit is a very thick word in our tradition. And it also has the sense, beyond being first chronologically, the first fruits that come up, it also can mean the best. And it also can mean the primary, what's most important. And so, in a sense, what we're learning, and I want to first just emphasize, we're getting this commandment, this ritual, before we ever get into the land, before we've planted anything. So this is it, it's an invitation to an imaginal exercise. Before we ever get there, it's an invitation to imagine into what might be. And what I'm going to suggest is it's actually an exercise to train us in our thinking so that when we get into the land, we have specific ways of understanding being there. And so before we ever get to that soil, we're told that the best of what we make is to be offered. The best of what we do, the best of what we have is for an offering. It's not just to say, look what I did. It's not just you can imagine some of us have been out in our garden seeing the bounty and you just want to put it in your mouth. No. Literally, what we're told is that the farmer would go and tie a string around this fruit while it still grows, knowing this is not just me. This is not just mine. This is an offering because I have a larger purpose here, and this is an offering. I want to also just note that, again, the Netivot Shalom, an important commentator that died in 2001, suggested that Reshit also works in time, and that Reshit is also Rosh Hashanah. The first three letters of Reshit are Rosh, right? And so it's tied to this time of Elul, and it's inspiring us to know that we are bringing the best of what we have to the beginning of the year. But also, Reshit, if you add a different letter, a bet, to that word, it becomes Bereshit, the first word of the Torah. In the beginning, but also maybe primary, first word. What's essential? Make it an offering. And the commentaries say that that word Bereshit, also means Torah. It is also Torah itself. So with this swirl of possibilities with Reshit, I want to move into practice thinking about what is our Reshit. The Nitivot Shalom in this parsha says, in everything, this is the teaching of the Bikurim, of the first fruit offering. In everything, a Jew should find a makom, a place for the divine. This is the inner soul of the mitzvah of Bikurim, of first fruits. The inner soul of the mitzvah is that a Jew should give the reshit, the beginning best, to the Holy Blessed One, and through this, they elevate all of their interests to the Holy Blessed One. Through this practice of offering, we learn to think of all that we do as offering. And so, what is our reshit? Maybe for the purpose of our practice right now, let's relax the idea of one best thing. But this ray sheet, maybe just as this moment, what is the best thing we can offer? Our attention, our presence, our awareness. So maybe let's find a position of comfort or a position of concentration where we can try to see if we can maintain our focus and our presence. And perhaps we can have the kavanah, the intention, that this practice itself is an offering of our reshit, an offering of our awareness, an offering of whatever's true for us right now, without covering it over, without trying to make it something else, an offering of our truth as we experience it, moment to moment. Perhaps we can invite our awareness just to the truth of our bodies, noticing the sensations that arise and fall away in our bodies, the flow of energy or tiredness or tightness or even pain or flow, all that is true just in this moment. Noticing the temperature, perhaps inviting attention, if it's comfortable, to the breath. Just noticing the quality of the breath without needing to adjust or change a thing. What's true right now? Can I notice it? Can I place my heart on it and offer it until the next moment with the next sensation, and offer it, and then the next. Making the offering of the moment. And then when we find ourselves distracted, allowing for tshuva, return to the intention, just to be, just to rest our noticing on body, on breath, just to experience what is true and let it release as an offering into the next moment of truth. We'll practice. Simu, 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 simu levavchem. Simu, simu, simu levavchem adevachechem. I'd like to close this part of our practice by reading a poem by none other than Rabbi Rachel Barenblatt, who will be leading the text study in the coming year on poetry. This is one of her poems called Elul Poem from 2005. She writes a new Elul poem every year, and with special birthday wishes to Dan Scharf. How to make it new. Each year, the same missing of the same marks, the same petitions and apologies. We were impatient, unkind. We let ego rule the day and forgot to be thankful. We allowed our fears to distance us. But every year, the ascent through Elul does its magic, shakes old bitterness from our hands and hearts. We sit awake, itemizing ways we want to change. We try not to mind that this year's list looks just like last. The conversation gets easier as we limber up. Soon we can stretch farther than we ever imagined. We breathe deeper. By the time we reach the top, we've forgotten how nervous we were, that repeating the climb wasn't worth the work. Creation gleams before us. The view from here matters, not because it's different from last year, but because we are. And the way to reach God is one breath at a time, one step, one word, every second a chance to reorient, repeat, return.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Rabbi Dorothy. Friends, we'll close offering an opportunity for those of you in mourning or observing a yurt site, or if it's your custom to join in a mourner's Kaddish, to do so. And if you're not reciting Kaddish, as always, encourage you to please stay present to support those who are. You can put the name or names of those you're honoring by way of reciting Kaddish today in the chat now or after you recite. After you recite the Kaddish, thanks to Harry sharing the words on the screen. If you're joining me, please rise in body or in spirit, and you can unmute at this time. Yitgadal,
Yitadash Shemay Rabba
Vivrach Vipir, Yamliach Malchutei,
Echod of Yom Echod
Yeh D'chol Beit Yisrael, Agalah B'zman Karev, Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevarach Le'olam U'lamei Almaya, Yitbarach Shabbat Ar Yitramam Aseh, Hadar Yitaleh Yipalal Shmei Kudushach Ela Miko B'Shirata B'Shmechata B'Nechemata B'Yiran Ba'alma B'Yimro Shlama Rabba
Leinu Val Kol Yisrael Amen. Say Shalom Bimromav. Yaseh Shalom Aleinu Val Kol Yisrael Val Kol Yoshvei Israel Bimro Amen.
Friends, and back to Dorothy will sound a show for us. And thank you so much, Rabbi Dorothy Shkoach for that as well, is leading us so beautifully today. I want to thank Harry Goboa, holding our text space steady, faithfully, skillfully as always. And of course, I do want to thank our sponsors for today. That is Nita and Bob Levy, who sponsor today's practice to honor Dan Scharf on the occasion of his 80th birthday. And we all collectively wish you a very happy birthday, Dan, and many, many blessings going forward, blessings of health and joy and family and adventure, and maybe even for your Kansas City Chiefs, maybe another shot at another Super Bowl for you. That's how much I love you. So many thanks to everyone for being here, of course, as well, and everyone's invited to stay on. You have the option of continuing to sit with your own practice. You can turn off the sound on your computer and use the support of our group to hold you in a little bit of extended time for practice. Or you can join us for a conversation or to share your reflections on today's teaching and practice. And if you're leaving us now, we hope you'll join us tomorrow. We are being led throughout Elul by the fellows and the faculty of our Marbeh Fellowship for Advanced Jewish Meditation Teachers. Rabbi Dorothy is on the faculty for that fellowship. Tomorrow will be led for the first time by Rabbi Lauren Birkin of the Hartman Institute, who is also a Marbeh Fellow, and really looking forward to welcoming Rabbi Lauren Birkin to teach us and bring us into Shabbat together halfway through the month of Elul tomorrow. Well, Dorothy, as always, so beautiful. I didn't remember any of that from last year, but
2 years.
I totally 2 years. All right. Well, then there's absolutely no way I remember that. But as you said, it doesn't really matter, So I love that poem by Richman. Also, it's so serendipitous to have Rabbi Rachel Bayerblatt's poem to kind of seal the practice today. And boy, did that hit home. So I just want to begin by appreciating this focus, this grounding of our practice on this idea of the reshit of the first fruits, right? And both the practical aspect, like people, even today, people could do that, right? With your garden, you could tie a little ribbon or string around that first tomato when it appears. I don't happen to have a garden, but I love that idea of doing that. And envy those of you who have the opportunity to do that and say, like, it's just a reminder that I didn't do this myself and that there's something much bigger than us that's involved in making this possible. But also to the interpretation, through the lens of the Tivot Shalom of beginning again in each moment with our best, and thanks for tying Dolly Parton, Aleha Shalom, into this as well. Because as Rachel Barenblatt's poem reminds us, at least for me, I'll speak for myself, yes, the list of sins or missing the marks, looks eerily like last year's and the year before. When I was younger, I used to think, I naively thought, oh, the high holidays are so great because each year you should get, better and better and better and make fewer and fewer mistakes. And by the time we get to this stage, really could be pretty close to perfect by now, right? But it doesn't work that way, really, as we know, and it's discouraging, to say the least. Can feel discouraging, right? To say like, oh, what difference does it make, really, right? So this is a paradigm shift to leave that. I think this is by way of question to you, really, is what to do with that sense of these habits are so ingrained in me, right? These reactivities, my inclination to forget gratitude, my inclination to be reactive, my inclination to, say things that I wish I hadn't said. They never seem to leave me. And here I go again, saying this time I'll do better. So that juxtaposition of that paradigm of yes, I can, yes, I can do better. And this time I really will, right? But this, it seems to me, is a very different paradigm of saying, you know what, let's not frame it that way. Right now, we're talking about right now. We're not talking about the history here. And in this very moment, I can, as it were, give my race sheet in this particular moment. And I thought that's what was so brilliant about her poem is that if we can adopt that outlook, then who knows what's going to happen, right? But at the outcome, who knows if the outcome will be different? But I'm wagered to say like probably will be different if we could do it that way. And that's the contribution of what we call Jewish mindfulness to this practice of tshuva is to say like, whoa, 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 don't overthink the past. Stay here right now and just give your race sheet right now. So that's the question. Is this a par, is how do we work with those two different ways of looking at our lives?
I think first I just want to thank you, Mark, because I think you just did a lot of work that I didn't have to do to connect the beginning of the sit to the poem. I just kind of did it and hoped people would figure it out. And I think you just, made that explicit in a really beautiful and articulate way. So thank you for that. I think there are a couple things going on. One thing is yes, the primacy of this moment is what our practice lives tell us about. And it intersects with Torah. And the interesting thing that we have in Torah is, for example, the Nitivot Shalom teaches that it actually has to be 40 days for transformation. Transformation doesn't come in smaller units in general. Like there are ways of having like a huge one in a lifetime moment, But in general, he's like, it takes time to change a habit. It takes time to change a practice. So there's a recognition that there's something to the moment and being in the only moment there is. And there's something to knowing that these moments lash together to create longer periods of possibility, right? So
Yeah.
I think both of them are really important, right? Really important kind of truths to hold. When we sit on the cushion, we or however we practice, then I think everything else drops off and we're just trying to be in the present. And that's the fun thing of this ritual, reshit, right, of the bikurim, of the first fruits. It doesn't happen once in your life. It happens every season, right? It happens every season, and we still call it first.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean it
I
happens every
mean,
season?
in meaning it's in a cycle.
Uh-huh.
It's not a once a time thing. Like usually we say one and then we go on from there. But the
Mm-hmm.
truth is we loop back to one all the time. And that's what I think he was saying. Reshit happens
Mm-hmm.
in time. We go
Mm-hmm.
through all the months. The Nitivot Shalom actually teaches something about Elul, which I think is relevant. He says everybody thinks Elul is the last month of the year. Right. Tishrei is when we start, as it were, writing the new number on our checks, right? Though not for us, right? But that's when 5786 becomes 5787, not till Tishrei. But he says actually the beginning of the year is an Elul. Why? Because Elul, looking to the next year, is when we actually are acting and creating the habits that are going to take us into the new year. We don't actually get born anew as much as our texts may say we are, right? We're bringing in all the Elul stuff comes in with us into the new year. So this is our time to kind of like prepare. What am I thinking about? What's in
Hmm.
my mind? What am I reading? What am I watching? What am I bringing in this vessel to 5787? That's actually getting set now. How am I treating my body? All of that is actually a now thing. And the deeper truth, which I think the Nativot Shalom would say is, and that's always true. And it's
Always.
true.
Right. Always true. Right. Yeah, I really love that. And of course, it also kind of reminds us of the connection between this practice and the kind of the Jewish spiral concept of time, right? So that which is not linear in the kind of right east-west way, but spirals so that we are at the same time, there is past, present, future, but at the same time, we're also living this other dimension, right? Which is timeless, right? So that, yes, you could say, well, Elul is really the beginning of the year. Yeah. But so is Kislev, really, if you think about it, right? The middle of the winter is also kind of the beginning of the year, or just choose whatever, Tebet, a random month, right? You could say, we're starting again now, again. Um, and for me, it really shifts things for me when I start. And there's some beautiful Hasidic quotes about, like not getting stuck in the muck of the past, of dwelling in one's failures, but not forgetting them completely, but not getting stuck in them, and at the same time, being aware that wow, can start again right now, right? Not beholden to the past in that way.
Yes.
Just have a few minutes, so I just actually wanted to invite you to talk a little bit actually about because I know you have this full day retreat online and hybrid and in person. For those of you who are blessed to live in the Bay Area, you can do this in person, but also online or by recording if you can't make it. You want to say a little bit about Makor Or and the retreat on Sunday? And if
Yeah.
you want.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think it actually goes nicely with this question that I see in the chat about how to reorient ourselves towards finding our sheet when our idea of how we were going to approach Elul and what we believed was necessary or important for us to offer is different from what is actually happening. And I think that's a really beautiful way of talking about it. Um, I want to say a couple things, and this is for everyone, whether you join us, obviously on retreat or not. Every year I make like all these plans about what I'm going to do during Elul, and I laugh at myself as I'm making them because first of all, it's in the plural. Like I know I should just pick one thing if I'm really serious about it, but I don't, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and then this and this. And like it's such a busy time of the year, and it's like so many different things are happening, and almost never do I do all the, I mean, I never do all the things, but sometimes I do some of them. But it's never the idea of the Elul, right? And that's great because that's actually giving really good information about what's getting in the way, right? In some ways, my ambition is getting in the way. Like I can actually look at what's getting in the way of my transformation in the way that I'm planning for my transformation, right? The beautiful thing about practice in general, but I want to say specifically about something I learned about Elul practice is that there's a whole practice that kicks in remarkably at the 18th of Elul, right? Which will be next week, right? And I will be talking about the 18th of Elul, right? It'll be right after the retreat because the 18th of Elul is singled out, 18, of course, big number in our tradition, but it also means that there are 12 days left, and that's one for each month, right? And so it's it's kind of the short, sharp way to enter into your Elul is like each day you go over 1 month of the past year.
Mm.
right? And you just do like this review. You do your cheshbon nefesh, however you do it. You just consider. And in some ways, I love that it comes, at the 18th day. You're not done. There's still plenty of time, but you're done with the ambitiousness of what you thought Elul was going to be. Like you've given that up. And you're looking towards Rosh Hashanah and you're thinking already about your groceries and what are you going to do? Like you're already in the practical logistics, some of us, right? Some of us very much, right? But you're still in Elul, right? And you can be like, really, what's important now? Really, what do I know? Really, what's being revealed to me? Really, what am I bringing in? And there's time. There's time because all we really need is a flash of clarity, of seeing the truth. And it doesn't mean we will do the transformation, but to me, that first important step of knowing what is calling out for transformation, what is
Mhm.
true that is not working, what is true that is working, that I want to strengthen and have more of in my year to come, right? That's priceless. And that's still so very available. And often, really, the major obstacle to that clarity is the frenetic pace of our lives. And so, having this retreat at this time on Sunday is an invitation to say, all the other things can wait. I'm just going to take this time to really sit with myself and let the kol dmama daka, the still silent voice of my soul, just tell me what the truth is that I already know, but that I distract myself from hearing. That's it.
Well, that is a pretty good advertisement.
And
Thank
that's
you.
true for the Yom Kippur retreat too. I hope you
Okay.
join me.
Okay. That's great. All right. As always, really, today was a treat, Dorothy. Thank you so much. A lot of appreciation I see in the chat. And everyone, hope you'll join us tomorrow to welcome Rabbi Lauren Birkin, who'll be teaching us for the first time on the Daily Sit. And very much looking forward to that. Harry, thanks. And Nita and Bob, thank you so much. And once again, a very happy birthday to our beloved Dan Scharf. And we'll hope to see you all tomorrow to sit together into Shabbat. Okay, be safe and well, everyone. Many blessings.